Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. And we've had the pledge at the last meeting a few minutes ago. We will move on to roll call, please.
Mr. Stockin,
Present.
Mr. Fanton. Here. Mr. Curran,
Here.
Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr. Havey,
Here.
Mr. Healy,
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins, Mrs. Root. Here. Mr. Crandall. 8 members present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of minutes of the June 28 meeting. I'll take a motion, Mrs. Root, second, Mr. Fanton. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me, and that's carried. Approval of the audit, it was on your desk, also sent out by email. We have a motion to approve that. Mr. Havey, second, Mrs. Root. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Graves.
I have a question for the treasurer. On 3152 Building and Grounds, a sum of $30,626.91. Is that for heating and air conditioning, or is that the roof? Thank you.
Any other questions? We go ahead, or can you? Okay. It's okay if we approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. The next item, County Administrator has a request to create and fill the Geographic Information Systems Specialist.
Thank you. This is the same person that has been doing these duties. We are looking to, we had a title of dispatcher, and we've been using the dispatcher for some enumeration. This is actually putting the title of GIS with that enumerating responsibilities and allowing the dispatcher to remain on the books to be filled in another way for the sheriff's office.
Okay, motion, Mr. Fanton, second, Mrs. Root. Are there questions? Discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Carissa, I'm in favor of this resolution, but or soon-to-be resolution, rather, this hiring. I'm wondering about office space and transportation. Will he be getting mileage? Will he need a secretary, that kind of thing? Have we worked up those details yet?
I don't believe we're looking at changing any of the operations. We're just looking, because we don't know where this will grow into. Hopefully someday we'll have an actual GIS office, that we wanted to just change the reporting structure as far as put the department as county administrator instead of the sheriff, but operations and day-to-day activities should remain the same as they are now.
So he'll still report at the jail?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Harris?
thank you. Just following up on that. So you're his direct supervisor?
On this paper, as far as the organizational structure, yes, but my intention would be to keep the same chain of command instructions going through the sheriff's office as we've been using. So I think they have a project they've been working on for a very long time. I have no intention of changing any of that project. The enumeration has gone well the past couple of years.
Thank you. And one more, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
Sheriff, do you intend to fill the dispatcher position that will become vacant? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
The sheriff's answer was in the affirmative. Any other questions? Mr. Ricky?
Is that salary or hourly?
This is a base and a step, and I believe this is in non-union, and I believe we're looking at an hourly rate on this one.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Next are referrals from committees, and we will start with Human Services. Take a deep breath and dive in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to be as brief as possible. We do have 11 of these. So The first one is Public Health Director Tyler Shaw is requesting permission to fill one full-time public health technician position. That's ASME grade 13. The position is responsible for emergency preparedness, deliverables, and activities for the county health department. It's also part of completing the sewer and water inspections for property transactions and other basic public health functions as necessary. The salary is between $37,665, $39,993, and it is funded 100% with federal funds. I move that for approval.
Moved. Is there support? Mrs. Root. Excuse me. Are there questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
The second, Mr. Shaw is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate ELC school reopening grant funds. The New York State Department of Health, through the Health Research Institute, is providing local health departments with federal funding to be used for a COVID-19 screening testing program for all Allegheny County schools. The grant requires that these funds be used to support and maintain in-person learning, and the amount of this of these funds is $1,476,509, and I would move that for acceptance.
It's moved. Is there support? Mr. Curran. Are there questions? Comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, the bulk of that, the $300-some thousand under health contracts, can you describe what that would be?
Sure. We gave the schools two options. We could either purchase equipment on their behalf with the testing supplies where they would have control. They'd have to do all the data entry, or we would outsource that to another agency who would take care of all the testing for them. So it really depended on what the school wanted.
Okay, so it's private testing and analysis.
This would be through a company. Yep. They would do all the data reporting and everything, and they'd hold the license, and they'd have the medical professionals. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And that's carried.
Thank you. Number three, Mr. Shaw is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate additional ELC COVID-19 grant funds. This same agency is providing additional federal funding to conduct case and contact investigations, as well as extending the grant end date to March 31st, 2023. The grant is to support new personnel to enhance efforts for case investigations, contact tracing, enhanced testing, and vaccination activities across communities, schools, child care programs, and other vulnerable populations. The amount of these funds is $327,832, and I move that for acceptance.
Been moved. Is there support? Mr. Havey? Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Okay. Number four, Mr. Shaw is requesting a resolution to transfer funds in the amount of $8,147 to fund postage, annual contract maintenance fees, insurance, outreach, office supplies, general supplies, and office equipment. The WIC program received a 2-year extension of the 5-year grant that ends in September 30th, 2021, but no funds were included to cover the cost of living increases. That being the case, the NYS, New York State WIC central and regional offices have recommended that those agencies with available funds be able to purchase prepay supplies and expenses before the deadline. That amount is $8,147, and I move that.
Moved. Support, Mr. Fenton. Are there questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Number five, Office of the Aging Director Anita Madison is requesting a resolution to accept $200,000, excuse me, let me do that again. $239,889 in federal funds under the Consolidated Appropriations Act and the American Rescue Plan. This funding is being administered to area agencies on aging to support expenses and increase services offered, including COVID-19 vaccine assistance, home care, home-delivered meals, and PERS. There will be a 10% county match for 4 of the funding streams, totaling $21,164 required to bring down the full allocations. That 10% is requested to come from the contingency budget of the county. And that funding is outlined, and again, the total is $239,889, and I move that for acceptance.
Moved Mrs. Hopkins, seconded by Mrs. Root. Are there any comments? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Okay, number 6, Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to reappropriate funding from the 2020 budget to 2021. The CARES Act funding for OFA runs out April 1st, 2020 through, runs from April 2020 through September 30th, 2022. And the total funding was $118,297. We have still $43,040 remaining to spend, and they will use this 100% funding to cover services to seniors, including transportation, Meals on Wheels, and ancillary supplies and study and services for the elderly. The amount is, again, $43,040, and I move this for acceptance.
Moved, excuse me, by Mrs. Hopkins, seconded Mr. Fanton. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Number 7, Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to accept a donation of $756 from the Allegheny County Student Government. The donation comes from funds raised through a walkathon and t-shirt sales by the class in May, and they'll be used to support travel expenses for the home delivered meals program and should be appropriate as written on your copy. And again, the amount is $756, and I move that for acceptance.
Moved by Mrs. Hopkins, seconded Mr. Curran. And with much appreciation, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Number 8, Social Services Commissioner Edna Kays is requesting permission to fill 1 full-time accountant clerk typist position at AFSCME grade 7 and all subsequent positions, including hiring from the outside. This person is responsible for maintaining daily financial reports and processing authorized payments and other related accounting duties. The annual salary is estimated between $31,830, $37,263, and the position is 66% funded with federal funds, with the remaining 34% offset by TANF collections. And I'll move that for acceptance.
Moved. Is there, excuse me, support? Mr. Havey? Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Number 9, Ms. Kays is requesting permission to fill 1 full-time caseworker, that's AFSCME grade 16, and all subsequent positions, including hiring from the outside due to a retirement. This position is responsible for ensuring the safety, health, and welfare of children and families, as well as adults. The salary is between $41,151 and $51,340, and the position is funded with 35.57% with county funds, 21.89% with state funds, and 42.54% with federal funds, and I move that.
Moved. Ms. Hopkins, support Mr. Fanton. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Number 10, Ms. Kays is requesting a resolution to amend the contract from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 with Dr. Craig Zuckerman of Rehabilitation Today Services. This is for sexual abuse counseling up to $35,916, and it is provided through the Child Advocacy Center for 7 hours of service per week. Ms. Case is also requesting the following budget adjustment to the Child Advocacy Center program, and the amount again is $35,916, and I move that.
Moved. Is there support? Mr. Healy? Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I believe finally, Ms. Kays is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate additional federal funds through the grants to enhance adult protective services to respond to COVID-19 for the period of April 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2022. The funds are appropriated as seen on your information, and the total is $15,700, and I move that for acceptance.
Moved. Mrs. Hopkins, supported Mrs. Root. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, we have Planning and Economic Development Committee. Mrs. Root?
The Greater Allegheny County Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Gretchen Hanchett is requesting authorization to accept the Allegheny County Tourism Matching Funds Award for the 2021 Matching Funds Program and ratifying the chairman of the board's signature on the contract. There is no budget adjustment necessary. This is for the second half of the year, and it is in the amount of $28,102, and I move that.
Support Mr. Healy. Are there questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Havey.
I would ask that I be allowed to abstain from this vote, please.
Certainly fine with me. Motion by Mr. Kern, second by Mr. Healy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Permission granted. On the regular motion, Mr. Fanton, Mr. Ricky. We already had that. didn't we? Yeah, we already had it. I was inquiring for questions or comments. Likewise. Any others? All in favor?
Aye.
Those in opposition? None is carried. Public Safety, Mr. Healy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we have a request from Probation Director Robert Starks. He's requesting permission to fill one full-time probation supervisor position and all subsequent positions, including hiring from the outside. This position has been vacant since November 2020, and some of the responsibilities of this position have been assumed by the director. The filling of this position will allow the director to begin implementation of a succession plan. The annual salary of this position is estimated between $55,193 and $62,121. And this position is 100% funded with county funds, and this is all laid out in the attached RFP you'll find in your packet also. And I'll move that, Mr. Chairman.
Move Mr. Healy, second Mr. Fanton. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Second, the Sheriff's Office is requesting permission to fill two part-time cooks positions in the jail kitchen. These positions will fill vacancies and increase the availability of part-time help. The annual salary of these positions is estimated at $40,587. These positions are funded also with 100% of county funds, and that is further laid out in the attached RFP you'll find in your packet. I'll move that.
Motion, Mr. Healy, support Mr. Decker. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
The Sheriff's Office is also requesting permission to fill four part-time emergency services dispatcher positions. These positions will fill vacancies as well as cover existing and future vacancies in the dispatch center. The annual salary of these positions is estimated at $17,500 each and are funded 100% with county funds, and that's also laid out further in the attached RFP you'll find in your packet, and I'll move that.
Move Mr. Healy, support Mr. Havy. Any comments? Questions? All those in support?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
All right, and lastly, from the Sheriff's Office, is requesting a resolution to accept grant funds and establish a capital project for appropriation of the New York State 2020 through 2021 Public Safety Answering Point Sustainment Grant, which PSAP. This grant has been awarded yearly in the amount of $10 million shared throughout 57 counties and the city of New York. Allegheny County share is $135,050. These funds will be used to update the much-needed electronic equipment in the 911 center. The funds should be appropriated as laid out below and in the attached MOE that you also find in your packet, and I'll move that.
Motion, Mr. Healy, seconded. Mr. Fanton. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Public Works, Mr. Fanton.
To cover the increase in design phase funding for Pine Street Bridge over Canacadea Creek. Town and Village of Alfred, bin number 2329770. The project funding is 80% federal and 20% state aid. The budget adjustment is as follows, and you can see that. And I'll move that.
Motion by Mr. Fanton, support Mr. Ricky. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
Mr. Henry is requesting the following adjustments be made to the 2021 budget to appropriate the federal, state, and town aid for the replacement of bridge bin number 225-4400 Weidrich Road over Genesee River, town of Wellsville. These funds will cover the cost of additional construction inspection phase funding with correlated Marcicelli monies. The budget adjustment is as follows, and you can see that. And I'll move it.
Motion, Mr. Fanton, second, Mr. Ricky. Questions or comments? Sorry, Mr. Ricky, I guess is not on the committee officially. I should not be recognizing his wave. But we appreciate your support, so. Mr. Healy will offer the second. Okay.
You need a second, I'll be more than glad to do that. It's a lovely site for a bridge. Good catch.
Okay, Mr. Fanton moves
Okay.
and Mr. Healy seconds. Are there any questions or further accurate clarifications? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Okay, Mr. Henry is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate additional funds for Consolidated Highway Improvement Program, CHIPS, Extreme Winter Recovery, and Pave New York, and the SFY 2021 budget in the amount of $933,119. And Mr. Henry is also requesting to appropriate carryover CHIPS funding remaining from 2020 in the amount of $642,787. And the adjustment are as follows, and I will move that.
Motion, Mr. Fanton, seconded Mrs. Root. Any questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed.
Mr. Henry is requesting permission to fill one full-time heavy motor equipment operator 1, grade 13, and all subsequent positions, including hiring from the outside. This position is responsible for the maintenance and operation of specialized heavy motor equipment necessary to the daily operation of the county's solid waste recycling program and properties. The annual salary of this position is estimated between $37,672.11 and $45,500 $598.79, with benefits estimated between $14,000 and $17,000. It's 100% county funds, and I will move that.
Moved by Mr. Fenton, seconded by Mr. Havy. Any questions or comments here? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Mr. Henry is requesting permission to fill one full-time transfer station operator, grade 11, due to a promotion. This position is responsible for the operation of the county transfer station. The annual salary of this position is estimated between $35,415 and $43,341 with benefits between $13,000 and $16,000. It's funded 100% with county funds, and I will move that.
Mr. Fenton moves, Mr. Healy with support. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Before we move on, we need to go back to number 1 and with accuracy in mind, we need to scratch Mr. Ricky's second from the record and replace it with Mrs. Root. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Any other referrals that I'm not aware of? Any old business?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of things. So number one, Mr. Ricky, who's been a troublemaker with his motions here, he asked me a question about the GIS position and whether it was hourly or salary. I spoke too soon. It's non-unit. Non-units are salaried. So it's a straight salary, which you can see broken down to what the hourly equivalent would be on that MOE. And the second thing is, I believe Ms. Ross has some information for Mr. Graves from his first question.
Yes, Carl. The breakdown of the $30,000 is the Village of Belmont water and sewer bill is about $16,000. Fillmore Gas is about $3,101. There's a Spectrum bill in there for under $100. There's repairs for the real property, which I'm assuming is what you thought might be in there. There's a Hull Electric Supplies for about $2,400. Johnson Controls sprinkler maintenance for $4,400. Johnson Controls air conditioning testing for the towers was $1,400. And then there was a service call on the freezer, which was $1,400. The others are miscellaneous, general supplies for liners, battery, and electric supplies, and some mats.
Okay,
So
thank
that
you.
was the bulk of that.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Others? New business? Good of the order?
Two things, Mr. Chairman. First, I wanted to compliment our administrative team for being so efficient there. And then number two is we'll have the a caucus and take a little 5-minute break, and we'll have a caucus following that. Thank you.
And before we adjourn, I would like to acknowledge the presence of 2 of our candidates for legislature in November, Adam Sear and Gretchen Hanchett. Welcome. So, anything else for good of the order? Motion to adjourn? Mr. Decker? Mrs. Hopkins? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.